So Rupa, tell us a little bit about what philanthropy means, because in Nepali context, my people either have vague ideas or they have the wrong ideas. So tell our community what it is and what it's not.
This is a very good question, Preeti. And as Nepalis, I think we sort of confuse philanthropy with GoFundMe or like some, transactional like interaction with somebody who is either willing to give their services or their money. But philanthropy really means is it consists of three things. It's your network, it's your resources, which is like your with your knowledge and your background, and your and money. Money is, I mean, it's obviously it's important, but when we think of philanthropy, I think all of us should think of it in three different buckets. It's the network. So if I connect with you, can you connect me to somebody? So this is like our, your global Nepali diaspora. Like it really is similar to that. So connections, resources, and money. Resources as in what kind of information do you bring? How can you help me in terms of education and information, and at the end, money. And I also really would like to emphasize this, and I've always said this, is that it's the connection to people. It's your relationship. That is philanthropy. You represent an organization, I represent an organization. What are the areas that we can collectively make an impact, right? So that is sort of the philanthropic relationship aspect. So I always emphasize this, like it's people is in the center of all of this. Impact is in the center of all of this. It's not always about money, because we think like philanthropy is getting a GoFundMe for a specific
Right. So and I think we our community, like say, there's this educational component even on this, right, in terms of not just what it is or what it's not, but how to best leverage it, right? How to invest in long-term relationships in general, whichever career field people are in. I think there's such a need not to be transactional, right?
Yeah, exactly. And, I landed at Mozilla. Actually, this is a crazy story. Right. This is where the relationship piece ties in. I landed at Mozilla because there was this person who actually was part of the hiring committee to bring me in as a director of philanthropy at scratch. And she had sort of moved on to Mozilla. And I had stayed in touch with her, through several months. If they had some kind of RFP, like call for proposal, I would reach out to her and say, hey, is this, can we, like, can Scratch qualify? So I kind of built that relationship piece. And when I told her that I was about to leave Scratch, she's like, Rupa, hold on a minute. Like, there's something for you at Mozilla. And I was like, I need some time off. So she really connected me, and that relationship really blossomed into us being coworkers again, which we really enjoyed. So, this is not a philanthropic relationship in any way, but for me, I think, the network is important. Maintaining relationships is important. What I'm doing, how I'm making my impact, and how do I communicate to my friends, to my peers, to the overall sort of community that I'm in is important. So I think philanthropy, I think this is a good kind of like setting the stage that we're doing, is that, philanthropy, it really is like it's more comprehensive.
Right.
We think of. Yeah.
Of course. Next question is actually about your new role, which I'm super, super happy for you. I think it's super exciting to have a Nepali in that role. Tell us what it entails.
So I joined Mozilla as program director of global institutional partnerships. So what it means is like, it's a funny story. When I interviewed Mozilla, they weren't looking to hire 2 people and establish a department. Now I'm part of this brand new department and we're still figuring it out. But what it really means is Mozilla is a movement builder, right? So they've built this like, there's all these web browsers back in like 90s. They're like, oh no, we're going to do an open source, our own, all the community is going to come together and build this open source browser, which they did and became very successful. So now they're doing the same thing with trustworthy AI, with data.
Exactly. And which is so timely anyways, right?
Exactly. So, I thought this role came to me at like a perfect time because I think, and I wherever I go, I am representative of Nepal, right? Like I genuinely have this identity crisis where when I go to Nepal, I'm more American. When I'm here, I'm more Nepali, and like I don't fit anywhere. But one of the strengths that I bring, and I think all Nepali people working in different sectors in the world bring, is a different perspective, right? So one of the things that Mozilla is trying to do is, the technology conversations, right? It happens in San Francisco, it happens in Boston, it happens in New York. But how do we sort of engage this like larger, there's billions of people out there, right? Like there's not 3 million people, it's nothing. And out of those people, maybe 2 million or 3 million making decisions for the entire world is not equitable. And Mozilla is really leading this. And I think this is such a great time for us to be part of this because, I come in and say, what about my mother-in-law who just showed me that TikTok with like a mermaid video and said, this is real, right? Like there are people that we're living out in this technological, landscape shift that is
trying to make the world more inclusive.
Exactly. They have this, Mozilla has this project called Common Voice, which is actually funded. And I don't want to get this wrong because I just started. I think it's funded by Gates and Ford Foundation. And so what they're trying to do is, so if you look at Alexa, if you look at these voice platforms, it's these American and British, all languages, but they're trying to kind of incorporate all of the languages around the world. So you just basically donate your voice, and that becomes part of sort of the Alexas and like all of the AI or that platform. So they're really thinking about equity. They're thinking about inclusion, accessibility. They're thinking about democratic sort of shift into this larger group of population that is left behind us. And I come in as like, okay, I'm from Nepal. Our what happens in India affects us greatly in our politics, in our society, in our community. Like, how are you all thinking about enabling the tech sector in that side of the world so everybody's voice is heard, right? So like I'm coming in from that sort of angle, and I'm really happy happy to be in this role because this is more of like working with the bilateral agencies, with like larger foundations that are really leading charge of changing sort of the narrative of how tech is being built and developed.
Exactly.
So that's the role I'm in. We're also a grant maker and a grant seeker. Mozilla Corporation sort of is the major entity, and then I'm part of the foundation, which is also part of actually the foundation owns the corporation. I'm going to be leading. I'll be one of the team members leading the global partnerships with the governments and bilateral agencies and foundations, and really making sure that everybody's voice is heard in this shift that is happening right now.
No, that's so exciting. Exciting stuff, right? In terms of, especially as with AI, last couple of months, we see so much happening. And I was just on a call earlier today, who's in Nepal doing some incredible work, and she was saying that AI scares her because it's happening so fast, right? And I'm so glad that we have a Nepali representing all of us, not just all of us in the diaspora, the people from Nepal that whose voice isn't heard, right? I think, and it's super important to have a representation there.